Welcome to the flight world. Let's discuss about the important incidents which happened on week 13, 2022. On March 28th, an United Airline, Boeing 767-800 was performing the flight UA-134 from Newark to Zurich. When it was cruising at flight level 370, over the Atlantic Ocean, crew reported a failure of the right-hand engine. Aircraft had drifted down to flight level 250 and later flight level 200. According to the Aviation Herald, at that point, the crew had decided to divert to Shannon. The Irish AAIU had reported that a fan blade separated from the engine and damaged the right-hand side elevator. On the same day, a Delta Airline Boeing 757-200 was performing the flight DH-339 from Atlanta to Seattle. There were 185 passengers and 7 crew members on board. At flight level 280, the cabin had been depressurized. The passenger oxygen masks were deployed. The crew had initiated an emergency descent and had diverted to Denver. The flight landed on runway 35 left safely, about 1 hour later, after leaving flight level 280. 6 passengers needed medical attention. 2 of them were taken to the hospital, and the other 4 passengers were checked at the airport. A replacement Boeing 757-900 had reached Seattle with a delay of 4 hours and 45 minutes, according to the Aviation Herald. On March 29th, a Delta Airlines Bombardier C-Series 100 was performing the flight DL-2953 from Chicago O'Hare to Minneapolis. It was cleared to line up on Chicago's runway 10 left at taxiway Delta Delta. The aircraft lined up on correct runway but facing the wrong direction. ATC had informed the crew, and the aircraft turned 180 degrees and took off. The aircraft continued the flight without further incident. On the same day, a LATAM Colombia Airbus A320-200 was performing the flight LA-4292 from Medellin to Cartagena with 147 people on board. After taking off from the runway 01 in Medellin, the crew stopped the climb at 13,000 feet due to a fault indication with the nose gear steering. The crew had declared a mayday call and had entered to a holding pattern to prepare for landing with the 90 degrees rotated nose gear. The aircraft landed safely on runway 01, about 45 minutes after takeoff. The aircraft was evacuated. There were no injuries. On March 30th, a Polar Air Cargo Boeing 747-8 freighter was performing the flight PO-213 from Cincinnati to Narita. The crew had reported a hydraulic failure about 40 minutes prior to the estimated landing time. According to the Aviation Herald, the aircraft had landed safely on runway 16 right and had stopped on runway with open gear doors. The runway was closed for about 1 hour until the aircraft was towed away. On March 31st, a LOT Polish Airlines Embraer ERJ-195 was performing the flight LO-420 from Zurich to Warsaw. When the aircraft was accelerating on runway 28 to take off, the crew rejected the takeoff due to a bird strike. The aircraft slowed safely and returned to the apron. After the examination by maintenance, aircraft departed 2.5 hours later after the rejected takeoff. On the same day, a Delta Airlines Boeing 757-200 was performing the flight DL-760 from Salt Lake City to Washington National with 198 people on board. When the aircraft was cruising at flight level 370, the windshield of the first officer's side cracked. The crew had diverted to Denver for a safe landing on runway 35 right. On the same day, an Alaska Airlines Boeing 737-900 was performing the flight AS-840 from Boston to Seattle. When the aircraft was departing from runway 22 right, the tail contacted the runway. The aircraft climbed and stopped climbing at 10,000 feet and landed back safely at runway 22 left in Boston. The aircraft had returned to service about 3 hours later. On the same day, a Ryanair Boeing 737-800 was performing the flight FR-6837 from Valencia to Naples, with 164 people on board. The crew received a cargo smoke indication when the aircraft was cruising at flight level 380. The crew decided to divert to Alghero. The aircraft landed safely on runway 20. No trace of fire, heat or smoke was found. A replacement Boeing 737-800 reached Naples with a delay of 4.5 hours. That's it for this week. Hope you all got some information from this video. Thank you for watching. This is Flight World. All about aviation.